All right. Oh, here's hoping this works. Banjo 3 is now live. Wonderful. We got two people. I'm trying something new this week. A new app. I got tired of all of the technical difficulties last week. So, hello, Jessa Lee. How are you? Click to view comments. There we go. Amy Strong is online. How you doing? I'm just going to press play on my phone at the same time and I keep track of everything. We'll turn the volume down. All right. Well, I'm here in Galway. Hopefully Hannah from Brooklyn is watching at some stage because she thanked me for giving her a tour of my house. So now I'm in a different seat this evening. I'm very comfy. I am very, very comfy. Thank you. This is one of the nicest corners in the house. And this is where we come at 6 o'clock in the morning when the dog barks and we wake up and want to have a nap. So, yeah, it's great to see everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Today we had the first bit of rain for 6 weeks. And it was welcome. The garden needed it. And then the sun came out again. So it's been a lovely day. And this lockdown business is interesting. It looks like we're going to be heading into another 2 weeks of it. They're not happy with where numbers are at the moment. So another 2 weeks before they're going to start easing up on restrictions. But yeah, life is good. Life is good. Yeah, so I've got lots of really interesting stuff this evening. Now I decided to do things a little bit different this time out. Because last week I just ran into so many technical problems, largely with, I think, the neighbors deciding to watch Netflix at the same time. And then the Wi-Fi just gets all confused and all the rest of it. So I've done pre-records this week. So I'll be online the entire time because there's loads of comments and I'll actually be able to interact a little bit better or an awful lot better with the comments. It also meant that when I was having a chat with various musicians that I could really focus on what they were saying and enjoy it an awful lot more and kind of really get in detail to what they were talking about. So I wasn't distracted by Wi-Fi and hang-ups and noise and everything else, you know. Rhonda Peak says you're closed down through the end of May. Which state is that, Rhonda? I'm not 100% sure. And there's Kathy expecting an extension of our stay-at-home order in Washington as well. I know it's crazy times, but we will get through it. There's lots of positive stuff today that I was reading about vaccinations and treatments and stuff like that. So there is some good news despite all of the all the bad news as well. So where are we at? 2 minutes past 6. I'm really excited to get into the chats that I had, and I have some great banjo music later on, and I also have some very fun stuff too. Cynthia says this is much less stressful. It is, and as I just said to Gillian before it started, I'm way more nervous today because I'm not as distracted with all of the other stuff, trying to make it all work. It's just me and a microphone and a camera, and it's like, oh God, now what do I say? So anyway, let's get into it. So I did an interview yesterday with an incredible accordion player from Mayo called Dave Munnelly. I was really excited to talk to him, and it went in a lot of places that I didn't expect. And that's the benefit of just being able to have a chat. And it was great, and he played some beautiful, beautiful music. So I'm going to play that now. I'm going to keep an eye on comments. We'll have a chat as we go along. So please enjoy my chat with the wonderful David Munnelly.
Work away.
All right, so I'm here with David Munnelly. David is an incredible accordion player from Mayo. I mean, it's his one downside being from Mayo, but we'll let him pass. Dave, very, very well known on the Irish music scene right across the world. Would have played in the US for many, many years, and no less than with our own Fergal Scahill, who was in the Dave Munnelly band for a long time.
Good while there.
And Dave then was in the Netherlands, and now he's back home in Mayo. So how are you going, Dave?
Good, Enda. Thanks a million. Very good.
Yeah,
Surviving this madness at the moment, but yeah, good. Can't
yeah,
complain.
yeah. Surviving is what we're all doing, I think, and
That's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe thriving.
Well, there's you kind of have to look at the you know uh, look at where you want to go from it, and kind of what you want to get out of it, and maybe use this time like musically, use the time for planning or creating stuff for.
Do
Don't sit back and
yeah, have you found it hard to be creative in the middle of this pandemic? Because I've spoken to a number of people who've said, God, we're 6 weeks into it now, and I haven't felt like writing a note or singing a song or doing anything, but I'm starting to kind of come around to maybe creating a bit more space now.
well, initially at the beginning we were hearing so much doom and gloom and kind of Armageddon stuff, and then over time, I hate to say it, but it kind of becomes normal. It becomes Jesus, the same crack again today, and it's
Yeah.
should be like this for a while. So and kind of not the excitement is the wrong word, but like the experience of it kind of wears a bit out, and the excitement of it or the fear of it wears out, and you become kind of back to yourself again in a way. And like for those people that were saying that they start eventually to start writing or playing music or over time, that's kind of a normal process that I don't know, you become in a way less affected by it, or what you hear on Facebook or the news or so on.
Would you have any worry that you'd kind of be reluctant to go back out into the world at the end of it? Or it'd be a strange process to go and meet people again. I do think about that sometimes. Like, I have a lovely place here in Galway, and I think, well, I might like to stay here forever, but eventually I'll have to go back out, and it'll be very strange.
It'll be different. Like, I mean, because I'm mad into history stuff, and lately I was watching, we say, the Black Death, for instance, when that happened. Like, imagine what they were thinking when that eventually subsided and they became back into society and they started going out doing their shopping or going out back to work. Like, how do they think the same? Do they think, Jesus, when this is all over, like, or will I be able to? I think what we have to do is look at the past and think that these things and things like it have happened before, and people became to a level of normality and functioning again. But I'm a great believer in humanity, as weird as that sounds for an accordion player from Mayo to say that with all sincerity. I believe that for every for not using profanity, but for every asshole that there is, there's 100 amazing people, scientists, nurses, doctors, good people that sometimes we don't focus on. We focus an awful lot on crap news sells. And I think if we focus way too much on that and forget about the fact that, Jesus, there's hundreds and thousands and millions of amazing people out there at the same time.
Yeah.
Working at the same time alongside these crazy people are these conspiracists or people that are thrive on kind of crap.
Yeah.
But going back to your thing about will it be strange to go back out into society? It'll be different for sure. But over time it always finds its way back to
some form of normal.
And to be able to meet up at festivals and go out to gigs again and stuff like that,
And do you think part of that kind of life living idea has that informed a lot of your music? Because I'm very familiar with your music, and it's very, very joyful, very energetic.
Yeah. What? Again, the belief and then the love, and again, not to sound like just like kind of one of these kind of feel good gurus, but I actually think that if you kind of believe, and also believe in the niceness of people, and believe that it has to affect you in everything you do. Like, I mean, it affects the way more than Galway people, Mayo people have a tendency, no matter where they are, they wave at people. For instance, to be walking down the street in LA or New York or, Sydney or Ulaanbaatar, and then how's it going? It's kind of normal to us,
Yeah.
The breed of the culture is in you. Oh, geez, how's it going, skin? Like, how's the crack? And
Yeah, doesn't Tommy Tiernan talks about that, isn't it? It's a sort of a wild lunacy that runs through the Irish people. That makes them very
yeah.
popular and brilliant
He's right.
and
Oh,
mad.
he's there. Yeah, yeah. There's a wild kind of, but at the same time, we not giving a crap either. Like, I mean, we'd say hello to people, just if they want to say hello back, good and well. If they don't, at least I've done my bit and keep on.
So you're a long time in music, and I remember you when I was in college in Dublin, uh,
Jeez,
which is it's about 25 years ago.
a long time ago now.
And you were
Yeah,
one of the first people. You were doing a music course, and I had all the details all up in the air. I was doing some mad course that I ended up working in for a while. But you were, I mean, people were talking about Dave Munnelly. He's doing this music course in Dublin. Was it in Temple Bar?
it was on Dame Street. It was a course called Coulter. It was these back in the days when you had the ponytail.
Yeah.
But not many people know that now.
No, they didn't know much about my clothing choices back then either.
The clothing choices was something else. The colourful shirts and.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Young Go-Go's one evening. You were playing there, I think, with Peter Brown or something. That was a good while ago.
Yeah.
But the course was on Dame Street. It was kind of between Ballyfermot and some other crowd. And I think I came into it around the second year, myself and Peter Malloy from Westport and Neil Lyons, the ballroom player, Darragh Bracken. A few of them lads were hanging around there at the time. And a course is a funny word for what it was, but it was great crack. It was a chance to kind of get out of Mayo for a while.
But you were hugely committed to it. That's what I remember from it was that you were driven to make a career from music. Is that fair assessment?
No, it would be. It would be. I tell people, like, up to the age of 7, I wanted to be a priest because I had an uncle in the priesthood, and I thought, this is great crack. This is money for nothing, And then after 7, around the age of 7, my uncle, who's an accordion player, I grew up in a house where every Sunday, my granduncles, the few that were still alive at the time, I lived with my mother's mother, who was a melodeon player as well. And every Sunday after Mass, a gang would come to the house and they'd be drinking tea or bottles of Guinness, I remember that time, and eating what's remnants of the dinner that was left. And then they go playing and singing. And I had uncles and granduncles at the time that just came into the house and played music. And I remember seeing this red thing with loads of white buttons on it and funny writing down the front of it and thinking, geez, I want one of them. And I knew my uncle played it and I knew my grandmother played something like it. And he said, geez, I'd love to start, So I grew up with a love of music, first of all. And then to say what you're saying about, that came later, the love of wanting to do it as a profession, as something that you want to do for a career. Not even the word career didn't come into it. It's something you want to do. You just want to, this is what you're comfortable at. This is kind of what you believe in a weird way, that you think that, geez, there's a reason you're here. Or over time you start realising, what the hell is, we're not here just for the crack of it, or we're not all here to go to Trinity or to become accountants or doctors. For my love of music that I got in the house, I must say, like my grandmother and these people who I'd have heard initially or in the early days playing, that it was something magical. It was this sound and also the socialness around it, the crack and the stories, and they were like a member of a club. They were members of a club, like a big club that meant something to them, and they were all kind of senior members of it. And and I was looking at it like that, thinking, this is fantastic. That they all kind of connect with each other, and they can connect with each other without even opening their mouth. Sometimes they can pick up an accordion or a fiddle and play a few tunes.
Yeah,
and that was enough for them.
Perfect atmosphere for very shy people, introverted people that could just
exactly. And I suppose there would be a kind of touch of that in me as well. Like, I mean, it was a way of expressing yourself without maybe verbalizing or shouting it from the hilltops, kind of thing. Or it was a way of this is the way I am. and I'll just show you, and you play. And again, all that came later. But in the early days, it would have been a way of, geez, this is amazing, this stuff, and you start remembering words and names that we say these people would have mentioned, like James Morrison, the fiddle player, for instance. My grandmother was a big fan of James Morrison. So when I got old enough, I started researching James Morrison. And then that would have led me on to Michael Coleman and John Kimmel, melodeon player, and the Flanagan brothers, for instance, who would also my grandmother would have been a massive fan on. And I got hooked into that kind of music and the expressiveness of it and the strangeness of it, like thinking there were Irish immigrants, or some of them were Irish immigrants, or the kids of Irish immigrants taking on this very different vaudevillian kind of jazz-like music, are integrating it with reels and jigs and so on, and making a career out of it. Like these were the first bands. They were the first wee Banjo 3 of Irish traditional music. They were the first.
I played Mike Flanagan's banjo recently in New York. His daughter came, and her entire family came to a couple of gigs recently, and brought the banjo along to play it. And lovely people. They're awfully proud of their heritage.
Oh, why wouldn't they? Yeah. I mean, like them people, Mike, Joe Flanagan, Louis Flanagan, they were one of the first to kind of sit down and orchestrate and to plan and to integrate. Like sometimes we forget that way before Plankstein did and the Batty Band, there were people doing this as well. And even in Irish music, we forget that in 1910, 1915, there was guys getting together and mixing Irish music with klezmer and Jewish Yiddish music. They were mixing it with early jazz music. Some of the guys that Morrison and Coleman recorded with were studio lads that were probably in the day before recording a jazz or a classical album. And we have an Irish lad coming in tomorrow when you hang around and stick down a couple of chords behind him or something. So,
speaking of, will you play something right now?
Will I play something now? Jeez, yes. I will. I have a dog out there barking.
I was going to say, it's like when I interviewed Sharon and Shannon, the dogs weren't barking, but they were climbing up on top of her head.
They were climbing up on top. Play something maybe. Mention the Flanagan brothers, for instance, but lately I was thinking of a couple of barn dances they played, and there was a set they recorded called "The Heart of Man," and again, these titles that I've put on it was very kind of. I think they put it down because it could only fit on the record sleeve or something like that. But there's two barn dances. I'll give these a blast.
Wonderful, wonderful. That just describes your music for me to perfection, which is really influenced by that 1920s sound, but incredibly flamboyant, but not in a kitsch way, just in a really glorious, joyful kind of a way.
That's how they played. Like, first of all, they had to impress. They were putting on a gig.
Yeah,
We have to realize that we have recordings, we have early musicians. We know of them because they had to get out there, they had to perform, and not in I grab your money and go kind of way. They were actually kind of informing as well. They were educating. They were leaving. Thank God they were leaving stuff behind them for the likes of us to grab onto and to be influenced by. And sometimes the word entertainment and and culture sometimes they get muddied up together. Sometimes the word entertainment is a bad word in music. That it becomes about showy or you mentioned the word quiche, for instance. That's yes, they had to make a living. They were professional musicians, especially for that time. The story I was talking to Mike Maloney about it, and who's a great collector of this stuff and a kind of an expert on the Flanagans, for instance, in particular. Like for the 1925, 1926, they'd be doing gigs for $2,500 gigs, which is like $15,000-$20,000 today. So they were. It's not that they were doing sitting in the corner playing a few tunes, that they were actually doing real rock star level kind of gigs for their time.
yeah.
And for the genre of music that they were in. So, but they were flamboyant players. You know yourself, the Flanagans. You mentioned Mike Flanagan. Also, other people like James Morrison had a band with an amazing accordion player called Tom Carmody, who came from Castle Island in Kerry, and they just became kind of landmark figures on their instrument. They became virtuosos. They were Paganinis of their, on their instrument. The likes of John Kimmel, for instance, who was composing music, commissioned to write music for a 10-key melodeon, and composed frightening music,
And is part
but
of
also was an entertainer.
is part of the fact that they were entertainers and they were very colorful musically. Is that what is so attractive to people? Around what we call the 1920s, the kind of golden era of Irish music, because there was lots and lots of really good music happening in Ireland. Of course, they weren't recording it commercially, but there's something really
There was,
exciting and colorful about that time, isn't there?
there was because, and I think the difference between with Ireland and what you heard at the same time by their brothers or cousins that would have emigrated was the mix with other musical influences, other ethnic music. So in Ireland, you'd have traditional music. We wouldn't. It was an island nation. We'd say at that particular time, the late 1800s, early 1900s, coming out of the famine, we're just getting ourselves up on our feet again, looking for a bit of work and a bit of food, and so on. Okay, the boys that went to America, they were this fucking amazing place where there was loads of people that they know from different parts of Ireland. Remember, people would have had to go to America to meet people from Cork
Yeah.
or from Donegal or from Sligo. They wouldn't have met them so much in Mayo or Galway. So they went over to America. They were in the likes of New York and Philadelphia and Boston and all these places. And in one corner, they'd have a load of their own Irish. And then around the corner, in another block, they'd have Germans. They'd have Italians. They'd have people from down in the bayous in the south, or for instance, as some of the early jazz boys were coming up to New York, from the Buddy Bowdens, the Joe Olivers. All these guys were in around America or in around New York at the same time that some of our boys would be going over, the Lad O'Byrnes and the Michael Coleman. So there's a guy called Harry C. Brown, a kind of a Negro banjo player, a four-string banjo player who became one of the leading exponents of what they call the classic banjo style. So he'd have been kind of very vaudevillian, but a lot of his stuff that he was singing about was anti-Negro music, so singing about his own people in a very derogatory and rotten way. But he actually made a massive name for himself, and some of his influences you can hear in the Flanagan Brother recordings, for instance. So you'd have Irish musicians mixing with a soup of other ethnic cultures and peoples. And
Was that part of the reason that you moved? You moved to the Netherlands and were there for quite.
I moved to the Netherlands for tax reasons, Enda.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I didn't know. I actually started going out. Imagine if we finished the conversation here. Money must be loaded. Huh? He must have money. No, I don't have money. No. I moved to Holland. I started going out with a Dutch girl it's about 11 or 12 years ago now. And about 10 years ago, I remember we were driving down from Galway one night, and she said, "Jesus, we should start taking it a bit serious now." And there's kind of this discussion came up: will I come over here or will you come over there, kind of thing. And without batting an eyelid, sure, I'll go over. Now, for a young laddie from West Mayo to say I'll go over is like, but I said it without actually thinking. Like, and 3 months later, I was packing my car and driving up to Dublin and driving across England to go to Holland to live, where I actually have lived until last February when I moved back to Ireland. And I moved back because I moved over there for someone, but also kind of wanting to find out what's going on up here. And I had my own issues with that. I had levels of depression and so on that I was kind of dealing with even here. So there was a lot of grey here for me. That's on the personal level. So you went over, madly in love, in this lovely city, Utrecht, which is a gorgeous city in the centre of the Netherlands, and finding out who this person was. And in a weird way, and maybe it's an Irish thing, you have to kind of go away to find who you are, kind of thing, in a weird way. That sometimes you kind of get too cushied up in the little bubble that is sameness or who, Ireland or again, as an Irish musician, you can be very much pigeon boxed or, that's who you are. From Ireland playing accordion, bang, that's who you are. And that didn't kind of sit well with me, really. So I don't know, was it it wasn't something that was kind of very well thought out. It just happened, and it led to me finding out different sides musically, personally, a minefield of stuff that maybe I wouldn't have come across so easily if I stayed in County Mayo.
Yeah, and so, to be challenged geographically and culturally like that.
And culturally, like very much so, to be challenged culturally and to be challenged within yourself, like throwing yourself in the uncomfortable deep ends every so often.
Yeah.
And to say, I don't know this place. What am I going to do here?
What do they say about getting into a relationship? It's like throwing Miracle Grow on your character defects.
That's very good. Of course, we wouldn't have Miracle Grow at us, though. We'd have dung.
Dung.
And seaweed and stuff like that.
It's way better than Miracle Grow anyway.
Yeah, in fact, that Miracle Grow.
The real stuff.
Yeah. But and ironically, there's a lot of dung thrown on stuff as well, and dung came out of a lot of relationships. But at the same time, we learned a lot about ourselves, and during that time, this kind of music thing was happening. I started pressing buttons in really strange ways, and pressing the buttons on the other side of the instrument, and trial and error was creating its own kind of different sounds. And
because you have an amazing band called Samurai,
the Accordion Samurai Project, which is it's a kind of a mix of 5 different accordion players from all over Europe. That happens to be 2 at the moment. There's 2 from Italy. There's Kepa Hunquera from Bilbao, the Basque. There's Marco Lepiste from Helsinki. So you have a Finnish guy, Basque, myself, and 2 Italians, Riccardo Tessi, who's the godfather of the diet. The button accordion is very different in Europe than it is in Ireland. So we talk an awful lot about the greats. You mentioned Sharon, for instance, but we have Marcin O'Connor, we have in the past Joe Cooley, we have Joe Burke. In Europe, there's different levels, different types of music. The accordion is a totally different instrument. In Europe, we have Marc Perron, we have Riccardo Tessi, we have all these guys that were taking the diatonic instrument. Different instrument, different layout. In Ireland, for instance, we have a distance of these 2 rows here. There's a distance of a semitone. So this is C sharp D, or you have B C. In mainland Europe, the 2 row instrument would be a distance of 4 tones. So you have G, C, or CF. So you wouldn't be playing, the Hare's Paw on it or anything like that, or this McLeod's. But you'd have certain countries have a very strong accordion tradition. Italy, for instance, Sardinia, the island of Italy, they had amazing accordion tradition. And as a young fella living in not only in Holland, but hearing all these different things and being asked to join this band, first of all, geez, it was frightening, because I knew of some of these guys, knew how important they were to that instrument in the world, like, and how they were revered. And I managed to kind of write 2 pieces for this project and to show up for a residency for a week where we'll get together and design a CD's worth of music. I was thinking, Jesus, really, just can I do? And that's the deep end there. You're thrown into it. You're not only are you thrown in the deep end of the pool, you're in a black plastic bag at the time. You're really like, I mean, it's not only can't you not swim, you have to get out of the plastic bag first. So, and that was it. And I remember, and it's amazing how the character of a person is the fight and flight thing. When you feel right, I have to kind of show me socks here, like, or otherwise, what am I about? So, and I'd be a great man for kind of throwing myself in these deep positions. Or like, there's an old saying, like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Well, I break it to fix it again. And that's kind of how I look at things, is that the square peg could fit into the round hole if you bait it hard enough.
A metaphor for life.
That's fucking deep stuff there now. So if you keep
beatings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah, there you are. And sure, isn't this testament for it? Like, we're around the place in a way, emotionally beating ourselves into that round hole. Sometimes thinking, "Oh, Jesus Christ, will this ever give up?" When really we could. Here I am today, no more than yourself, looking out at the sunny west of Ireland here. Looking down at Carramore Strand, Louisburgh, County Mayo. Weirdly enough, the sun is shining, dogs barking, and you can only look at that and say, "Jesus, isn't it great?" Isn't it? And maybe as much as the crap that's going on at the moment, that there might be a lot of good might come out of it.
Is that part of the musician's makeup? That sort of continual self-doubt and self-criticism, is that what makes people brilliant?
With the level of optimism at the end of it. So it's a kind of a mix of, like, it's like the jelly and custard. Oh, Jesus Christ, I should write this down. It's like on one side you have this lovely, or this like, or no, it's like, no, it's not jelly and custard, because both them things are nice. It's like Brussels sprouts and T-bone steak. The Brussels sprouts are there, and geez, do you know what? I'm not keen on them. But feck of the steak is there, and I'll eat these old things. I'll get through these first. I look forward to it. So, but I, as you were saying, like, is there a level of self-doubt? I think that's what, in a weird way, that's what kind of makes you stronger. I think if you go around thinking you're brilliant, I don't think you're going to go any further than that.
Yeah, that's true. That's right.
So, but now, see, then there's this side of it. Well, if you keep doubting yourself, that's not good either. Okay, but there's a healthy level of doubt. There's a healthy level of self-critique that I think anyone that is any way creative, or anyone that's anyone that's going out in the morning driving a lorry or driving a bus or digging potatoes, I think you have to have a level of, am I doing this right? And I can't wait for these buses till I go home.
I don't know. There's plenty of lads driving lorries, and I don't think there's anything going through their mind. And I often wish I'd have been happy digging potatoes, but I wasn't, because I had a job that paid loads of money, and I could do it in 2 hours a day without thinking about it. And I hated myself.
You hated yourself?
Yeah. My wife said, if you don't leave the job, she said, I'm going to end up leaving you, because it wasn't challenging or anything, and it just. It wasn't about the money.
But even does the word challenge come into it? Like, does it speak to this? And that's another thing. I think it's not even the word challenging. It's you could do it in 2 hours. You said, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could sit back and say, I'll take the money and watch TV for the rest of the day.
Mm.
But when you speak into this,
Yeah.
and for the length I know you, I think there's more to you than...
Well, I used to go fishing, but you never got any satisfaction out of a salmon that you caught when you were supposed to be in the office.
If you caught enough of them, you could sell them.
But wasn't even about that. It was always like supposed to be somewhere else. First time I caught a spring salmon, right, 10-pound salmon, and I was so thrilled with myself. I was literally now jumping up and down on the side of the river. I'd been a few years trying to get one, and I rang Gillian and I said, "I'm after getting one. I got one. He's 10 pound. He's huge." I was so excited. Silence on the phone. She says, "It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You're supposed to be in the office."
Oh,
I was like, "Oh."
Jesus Christ.
I should have rang. I should have checked the time first.
Full salmon for you that evening, yeah. It was a bowl of cornflakes for you that evening. But okay. But then, what did that say to you? Like, did that say, "All right, I have to address this," or was that around that time you were thinking?
Yeah, that was about the time. It was, yeah.
And was it a guilt?
It was, because you should have been doing something else, but you were out. But yeah, and it just got to the stage then that the band got so busy that I couldn't do the two at the same time.
Yeah.
And then I had to choose one or other. And there was that part of me, that kind of Irish part of me, growing up in the 80s, which was like, stay with the pension. You know? But thankfully, Jill made it a very simple decision. She was like, it's either me or the pension.
Yeah. Jesus, fair play to her. But maybe that was your inner, like what made you go fishing, do you think? Apart from loving it, what was it, an escape to something's at me? And that's what I think sometimes we turn to music, or we turn to something for us, that something is at us here.
Yeah.
And we can't maybe verbalize it at the time, and we don't even know what it is. It's probably there staring at us and we can't recognize it. And it takes something like, well, it's either me or, you know, or the fishing.
Yeah. Well, without a doubt, that's the hardest aspect of lockdown for me, is that I get such an emotional release, and it's not even on a conscious level, from touring and from playing and from the performance aspect of playing. Yeah. And often I could be home for 2 or 3 months at a stretch and then go back out on the road. And by the time it's time to go, I'm very ready. And often Jill will say, it's time for you to go on tour again, because there's this sort of pent up energy that needs to get released. And I go on tour, and within 2 days, it's like, I'm back to kind of homeostasis has been achieved again, you know. And then I'm ready to come home, and it's just, and now I'm looking at being at home for quite a long time. So it's, and I can't even go fishing right now. So I have to find.
It's John West for you, so. But then I suppose the challenge is to find something else in you, like, and even this initiative you have here of reaching out to people and asking the questions and communicating and expressing the very questions you're asking me, and the openness of it. And I think that's what's lovely about. I think it's something that we don't address sometimes ourselves. I think everything is great crack. Everything is brilliant. It's fantastic. Jesus Christ Almighty. And really. And we're afraid. It's not that it is and it isn't. It's that, but there's always a little but, and sometimes that but is massive, but we don't want to address it. We don't want to. And these questions are important. Why are you that person? Why are we playing music? Why do we want to go on tour? Why do we want to express ourselves and show ourselves? And that's for a different topic as well, a different conversation. But I think we shouldn't be afraid of these questions, and more people like yourself, thankfully, should be kind of having these chats with people and saying, right, tell me who you are.
And I think we've time now to answer those questions like we've never had time before.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Will you play us an air, Dave?
Slow air.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I know a few you've recorded are magnificent.
Oh, you're. All right. Well, lately, because since I moved back here, there's a lovely mountain, you know, as well, the Maumeen Mountain near Maum in North Connemara. I live across the fjord from Leenane, and just behind Leenane there's a hill there called Maumeen, and it's gorgeous. And it's, again, not to be too airy-fairy about it, but there's something about it, and they're the things you can't explain verbally without being ridiculed or laughed at. But, you know, that there's a vibe in it, there's an energy in it, and coming back from it one evening after walking or trying to walk up it, I made it as far as the gate. Jesus. There's a tarmac wouldn't kill them. But anyway, and I wrote this tune on the drive back to Lewisburg from it. So it's called On Mommy. So.
Fabulous. Absolutely
That
fabulous.
kind of thing.
Dave, I could talk to you all day, honest to God. You're
No
great.
bother, I've nothing to do.
We'll leave it at that for today. People can get you at davidmunnelly.com, and you do have a paypal.me at soundcloud.com/boxmun with 2 N's.
Two ends.
Yeah, I can't wait to, Ginny Max, play tunes with you again now that you're back in Ireland. When all,
I'm only down the road from you, Mark.
yeah, literally.
Well, keep up the good work, and should look at dropping again. I've plenty more to.
Yeah,
I could lie all day.
we're going to be here for a while, so you never know.
All right, be good.
Thank you so much. Wow. Well, I enjoyed that even more the second time. What an incredible character. Um, it was amazing to listen to it back. He has such wisdom and a great laugh. I won't go into the story, but I'll never forget taking the bus from the airport to Dublin, Ohio Irish Fest one time, and I said something ridiculous, and the two of us laughed for about 20 minutes, and I just kept laughing at him laughing, and he's a great man, great guy altogether. So loads of comments. Great to see everybody online. Everyone was looking for some banjo music, so here's here's one I made earlier. So my banjo hero growing up was a guy called Jerry O'Connor, and I'm gonna definitely get Jerry on in over the next couple of weeks. A wonderful man and highly entertaining, and an absolutely brilliant, stellar banjo player. And when I was 11 and 12, I lapped up his music. I learned every note that he played and every note that he recorded. And so I asked Jerry during a couple of weeks ago if we could do a video together. So in true We Banjo 3 fashion, there are three banjos on this. Myself, Jerry O'Connor, Damien O'Kane, and a guitar player called Stevie Burns. So I'm going to play this for you and hope you enjoy it. Let's see where we go. Here we go. was great. Like I got rid of everybody's name. We had so much fun making that. So that's the absolutely brilliant Jerry O'Connor, Damien O'Kane, and Stevie Burns. Loved doing that. It makes me want to do more. It was an awful lot of work. It was my first time using Final Cut Pro and editing and getting all the banjos to line up. Getting banjos to line up in the real world is difficult, and it's even harder digitally, let me tell you. So, but that was so much fun, and loads of great comments. Thank you so much, everybody. So I have one more interview tonight. This is one I did a couple of days ago with a wonderful fiddle player from Texas. So I'm going to roll this, and then I have maybe a bit of fun at the end as well. So let's go. This is Hailey Sandoz from Texas. So I am live with Hailey Sandoz from Texas. Hailey is a fantastic fiddle player who we've met at the O'Flaherty Irish Music Retreat in Fort Worth, Dallas, which runs in October. And we've also met at North Texas Irish Festival. And we've possibly met at other things, but they're the two that come to my mind at any rate. So we've known you for a number of years through the band, primarily as a Celtic or Irish fiddler.
Yes.
And very, very talented. But your background is really in Western swing and jazz and some classical. Would that be correct?
Well, actually, so that came later. I started out in classical music just as like I guess a good foundation. But about a year later, I got into Irish music. And so for a number of years, that's all I did. And it wasn't until probably like 4 years later that I started dabbling in bluegrass and now Western swing. But yeah, for a number of years, it was Irish.
Okay, so primarily Irish then. I must have read your Wikipedia page backwards from bottom.
I have one.
When I think of Hailey Sandoz, I always think of a very fetching and very large cowboy hat.
Yeah.
I'm in the Western swing bracket, so. And
yeah.
Boots, which Irish people just should never wear. I mean, I've tried them on many, many times, put them on and go, no.
Yeah, there's some really uncomfortable ones out there, I'll have to say.
It's just, you can't wear them and talk in an Irish accent because you just look ridiculous. If you didn't talk, it'd be fine.
Yeah, I can't play Irish music in boots, so
no.
I get that.
Yeah. So what drew you to Irish music?
So it's a number of things. So I had a teacher that was getting into the Irish music at the time, and she had heard about O'Flaherty's and invited me to go to the youth camp part. So this was like a couple months before I met you. But initially, I guess what the draw was I got into Irish dance. And so, with hours of practicing, you hear a lot of Irish music. And as a classical player at that point, I was like, man, this is way, way more interesting. And it's not a slash to the classical music. It's amazing as well. But so I got into dancing, started competing, and really just started enjoying the music and realizing that's kind of where I wanted to go. I just loved the community that the Irish music had. It wasn't like this, every man for himself. It was, you get around in a circle and just share tunes. And I just loved that. And so I think that was the initial draw to it. And then once I got into it, just meeting incredible musicians like yourself really just inspired me to go, hey, I want to learn more about this. And so the rest is history.
Yeah, I did a lot of classical music at the start. And what I couldn't cope with, because there's a very strong rebellious nature I have found, particularly in all banjo players. Somebody else would tell me what speed I was to play the music at. And it was like, no, the composer has said that this is at a walking pace. And I'm like, who's this composer dude? I want to play whatever way I want and change the notes. So it didn't really suit me at all.
That's hilarious. How long did you play classical music?
For many years. I did all my piano grades. I played fiddle or violin for a while, but I couldn't cope with the out of tuneness from the start. So, and then I really struggled with the whole bowing thing because I played Irish music, and I was actually in a youth orchestra for a period of time in Galway, and
Really?
most of the kids were pretty poor quality wise fiddling. Hopefully none of them are watching now. And I used to hold the bow, you know, like the short bow hold, and it'd be
Yeah,
a
yeah.
classical piece, and I'd be tapping my foot and playing away, and the conductor would like stop York, stop, stop, stop. Who's tapping their foot? And I'm like, I'm literally the only person keeping them in time here, you know.
That's awesome.
Oh, couldn't cope with having to watch somebody else telling me what speed to play at and stuff. So I wasn't
Yeah, I don't know how you can do that without tapping your foot.
exactly. Well, speaking of tapping feet, will you play us something Irish?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll play two jigs. The first one is the New York Jig, and the second one is Trip to London.
Wonderful, Hilly. Really
Thank
nice.
you.
So, where did the Western swing connection come? Because I had never heard Western swing music until I went to Nashville many years ago and went to the Station Inn and I heard the Time Jumpers playing and
Oh, yes.
blew my mind. I was familiar with the style of music. I didn't know what name it had and its connection with Texas, I guess.
Hmm.
But absolutely loved it. It's really fun and yeah, it's a lot of energy and it seems very fun based.
It is. It is. Apparently, it is the official music of Texas. I didn't learn that till years later. Um, but initially, I guess how I got into it was honestly, I don't even know. Like someone found my business card actually in a bathroom, which is kind of weird. And they were doing Western swing music. I had no experience. I had listened to people like the Asleep at the Wheel. And I had picked up some stuff just out of curiosity, but really had no background in it. So kind of got thrown into it. Someone wanted a fiddle player, and I ended up finding this whole industry I'd never heard of, which there's so many people in Texas that are playing it. So that's kind of how it has taken over, and I've kind of switched over to Western swing because there's just so much of it here. And it's very similar, I guess, in community wise to the Irish music. People love to jam. People just love to come together and share music. And so I guess in that fashion, like it was similar to Irish. And I really do credit Irish to Everything, because honestly, it gives you such a wonderful foundation. Like what I was fortunate to find out is that um, if I had stayed in classical music, I probably would have had a harder time getting into Irish music, just because, the strictness of bowing and the feel is so different. But because I made that transition from an early age, I it really just set me up to be able to go into these other genres, and I guess almost gave me a leg up, just because Irish really does force you to find that feel, in which Western swing and jazz, they heavily rely upon that feel. And so if you don't have it, you're going to have a harder time. So that's initially how I got in. And then, people talk and you meet new people, and
So who are you
just
playing?
kind of goes from there.
You're playing with, it's a Grammy winner, is that right?
Yeah, right now I'm traveling with Bobby Flores. He does a lot of classic country, but he's also a killer jazz player. He plays guitar and fiddle and steel and pretty much any other instrument you name. So I've been traveling a lot with him, also traveling with a friend of mine by the name of Kristen Harris. We've gotten to go to some cool places. Got to go to France not too long ago. So yeah, been touring with a couple of groups around here.
And you have a new single out on your website, haileysandoz.com, and on CD Baby, and I'm sure everywhere it's available. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so up until now, I haven't really put out any solo stuff. So this was my first solo recording. It's a Cindy Walker tune. Ray Charles, can't speak. Ray Charles recorded it a number of years ago and made it famous. And it's just a super classic tune or song. And so anyway, I decided to record it, and we're working on a full CD here soon. Wonderful. So hopefully it'll come out.
Yeah, you're a great singer as well and dancer, but we did discuss the possibility of dancing on Skype, and that's just not going to work.
I know, and I'm on the upstairs, so it like sounds like a bunch of elephants jumping up and down.
Can will we finish up with a Western swing piece? Could you play us something?
Oh, yeah, I can definitely do that. This is a Bob Wills fiddle tune. It's named after a town in Texas. It's called Beaumont Rag, or maybe the town was named after this song. We'll never know.
Yes, I remember now. I was to edit the end of that. For some reason, my microphone went off. But that is the wonderful Hailey Sandoz. So if you go to haileysandoz.com, she has a brand new single out, Western Swing, and it is fabulous. And a gorgeous girl as well. Loved meeting her before. She's really, really friendly and a great talent. Um, Loads of comments. Lovely to be able to interact with all of you this evening. This is a much more pleasurable experience for me, and yeah, so it's great. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I got one more bit of silliness that I did during the week, so let me know what you think of this.
What do I miss the most about being on tour? Standing on stage every night and being able to sing to people is just amazing. And seeing people dance and sing along, smile and laugh, those are all things that I miss.
I'm missing all the traveling and the meeting of wonderful people and the playing of lovely music and the drinking of tasty coffee and the eating of delicious food and the hanging out with my lovely bandmates and lovely Frank Marchand and all those great things that we get to do on tour.
Hello, what do I miss about tour? Well, I miss lots of things. I miss the lovely friendship with the lads and Frank Marchand, the honey badger. I miss the morning coffees and the beautiful music created on stage every night together. And I miss the hangs with the fans. Most of all, I miss driving. I love driving. It's a great passion of mine, and most people consider me quite the ninja driver.
Hey there. The most important thing I missed about not touring is the shows, definitely. Hold on. The thing I don't miss about the shows is Martin's driving.
Martin's driving. Yeah, definitely Martin's driving.
Martin's driving.
What don't I miss? I don't not miss anything. Everything about tour is great, so I don't miss anything. And the lads always have my back. They're super supportive.
The lads were great fun now, in fairness. That's it. Overtime as usual. I've really enjoyed this evening, this afternoon for you guys, a lot of you. Hope you did too. So please do support Dave Munnelly and Hailey Sandoz. And for the Kansas City people, you may have got a text this morning or seen it on the Wee Banjo crew, but we did make a Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl champions t-shirt for our postponed Kansas City gig, which was to go ahead in March. So loads of people have been buying it all day, and we're delighted about that. So thank you. Loads and loads of comments. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Check out Fergal's Fiddling Friday. That's coming up in a couple of days. And now I have loads of amazing ideas for next week. So God only knows what we'll come up with. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you all. Stay safe.